What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another FPL video. My name is Mo, and today I'll be going through, in this video, players that I believe this season are being talked about a lot in the FPL community. However, I believe, in my personal opinion, may it be controversial to your opinion, overhyped in terms of the game itself, how it's looking, what people are thinking in terms of why they should have them in their squads. Are they really worth the hype? Are they worth breaking your team kind of structure up for? We'll discuss all of that. This is just my opinion. There might be a few players that you might think, wow, why have they been selected? But it's just an opinion, guys. Let's go through them. But before we do that, if you're new around here and you haven't subscribed to the FPL INKLING channel, hit that subscribe button. And if you like the video as well, give us a thumbs up like as well. So let's start off with the list. Let's take away my draft. So at number 1, so I'm ranking this in terms of the most points from last season itself. We're going to go through Trent Alexander-Arnold. So we see from Trent himself, he's got this new role at Liverpool where he is kind of like the inverted midfielder, coming in at a staggering 8 million price. He came in at 7.5 million last season, but he's gone up to 8 mil this year. A lot of people in the community say the fair price for him. For me, I think he's overpriced in my personal opinion. Now, that might be controversial. You might disagree with it, but it's just a personal opinion. And I'll tell you the reasons why I believe that it's just a bit too expensive and it kind of ruins the balance of your team. Despite, the next kind of like most expensive defender in the game is 6.5 mil, which is Trippier. But I still believe that, there is better alternatives and you can use those additional 2 mil, a million and a half, 2.5 mil elsewhere in your squad to give it more depth and strength in itself. No doubt about it, one of the best defenders over the last 5-6 consecutive seasons for Liverpool. But one thing we need to question ourselves, are Liverpool defensively as strong as they used to be maybe 4 to 5 years ago? I, in my honest opinion, don't think so. They have the odd occasion here and there where they'll get a clean sheet. Will they be as, let's say, what's the right word to say? Will they be as consistent in the back line? That's for us to see. Defensively, there's a concern. So if I'm paying 8 million for a defender, the main thing is for the defender to do in the game is defend and kind of assure you of as many clean sheet points as possible, i.e. 4 points. Will he get those on those 2 points for the 60 minutes played? That's the question to ask as well. 13 returns, not bad. Now, will he be as effective as he was, let's say, when he was in his right wing back role? We're yet to be seen. We've only got a sample of about 8 games at the end of last season from maybe game week 30 to 38 that we saw kind of Trent in this new role. The question I always ask is, or this season is, he's kind of like in the Fabinho role. Would you pay 8 million for Fabinho? I know Fabinho doesn't have his kind of like attributes and skills levels, but even though the assist he got a couple of days ago in like the pre-season friendly, it was like a 2 to 3 yard pass. I don't think it was that kind of whipping crossball. Will this kind of like dampen his kind of like, strengths that we're used to, that he's going to wing, be on the wing, whip the ball in, get someone on the end of it? I'm not too sure. Or is he going to cut back? I don't have the sample size for me to really think, yes, this is the player I must have. That's not to say I won't own him at any point in this season, but to begin with, I want to see a bit more, guys, to be fair, and it's a lot of investment. Can I get to him from other few transfers? Potentially, yes. Do I have to rip up my whole squad for it? Do I have to play a wild card? I don't think I need to go down that route as of, immediate effect, because looking at Liverpool's fixtures, Chelsea away, Newcastle away in the first 3 games, defensively, don't look too great. But then you Bournemouth at home, Villa at home, Wolves away, West Ham at home. Now, Liverpool had the same problem that Man City had last season. They had the occasional goal. They'll be winning like 2 or 3-0, and then they'll concede a goal out of the blue, which could have been avoided. Do I have the faith in the back line of Liverpool? Van Dijk's not been the same player since he had that injury a few seasons ago, unfortunately. So that's the only drawback I have around the whole Liverpool back line. Defensively, there's a question mark. Offensively, I have a question mark because I don't have a big enough sample for me to go, yes, this is what I see Trent in. I think he'll get the same amount of returns. Yes, he will get some returns, but is it worth that 8 million? Could you invest that 8 million in potentially another player in midfield, like a Phil Foden, or maybe 7.5 million from Maddison? As well, 8 million, for example, you could get Martinelli in, Foden at 7.5 million as well, Grealish. So there are other alternatives that we do have in the midfield for us to take advantage of. But Trent, for me, at the moment, I think is a bit too much overhype in the community. But again, he has proven it in the past. Let's just give it a bit of a few games in, give him a chance, and let's see where it takes it from there. The next player is Mbembo, so I kind of jumped with the community immediately when I made my first draft. Mbembo in my first draft, there's noise around Tony not being there. He's going to be up front, he's going to be on penalties, more kind of shots on goals, more points to be had. In the last 8 to 9 games of the season when Tony wasn't there, he had a great kind of little run there. Is that a big enough sample size for me to go, yes, this is what I'm going to persist in the first couple of game weeks of the year? Could be, could not be. I mean, I think it's a bit more of an overhype because they've got Vista up front, who comes in at 6 mil. So will it be as fruitful as everyone's kind of anticipating? Not too sure. When this game launched, obviously there's less managers, so the movement in teams selected by will move quite frequently, and it will happen until like the deadline of game week 1. He was owned by around 35 to 36% of managers. However, now he's around 24%, so it has gone down. People are moving away from Mbembo, and they're kind of like looking at other alternatives. You know, even at 6.5, you have other alternatives to pick in terms of players. So you've got Eze, Mitoma. You know, if you spend a bit more, $500,000, you could go for a kind of like, let's say, a kind of dicey pick of Raheem Sterling. So there are options for you to choose from. But in Mbembo, they have good fixtures in terms of Brentford. It's just a wait and see for me. Yes, he's on penalties or set pieces. There's a good run from Fulham, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth. But again, is there a big enough sample size to see him perform week in, week out? So that's why I'm a bit on the bandwagon at the moment. I'm not entirely sure. In Mbembo, he might come good. But at the moment in my drafts, he's not in there at the moment. I think there's a bit too much noise for my liking in terms of Mbembo at the moment. And then going on to Alexis McAllister, who's joined Liverpool this season from Brighton. Brilliant season last season, 12 returns with 140 points. Now, do I think he'll play in it as an advanced role like he did for Brighton for Liverpool? Potentially not. Probably a bit more deeper. Might be a risk of rotation as well occasionally because of the players and the depth that Liverpool do have. And the fixtures, just like Alexander-Arnold, they don't really scream much to me in the first kind of like 3 to 4 game weeks, but then they do pick up from like game week 5 to maybe game week 6 as well, and then they go difficult in terms of 7 and 8, and then Everton in game week 9. So McAllister, for me, is owned by 15.5% of managers, which I think, you know, is quite high, even though at this early stage of the kind of registration of the game. He did well for Brighton. I'm just a bit eager to see, you know, will he be good enough to replicate that at Liverpool, especially with the kind of forward line press that they have in terms of Salah, Gakpo, you know, Luis Diaz. They've got the kind of firepower up front. Will he get enough of that kind of share of points or goal returns? Yet to be seen. And again, like Trent Alexander-Arnold, if you're looking to secure some Liverpool spots, you want to see who's doing well. For example, Jota, Darwin Núñez up front, Diaz. Who will be the Liverpool player that's kind of like hitting form immediately? So do you really want to take up a vital Liverpool spot? With McAllister, ideally not. So you could potentially, if you are going for someone like Salah, like myself, you've still got 2 places. Even if you go for the Trent double up as well, you've still got another key spot for Liverpool if you see that they're hitting some form to get that third player in. McAllister might be like, you know, taking that place up, and it might accumulate another transfer for you or kind of lead to an early wild card in itself. So McAllister, for me, done well last season. I'll wait and watch. I don't think we should get him in initially to start the season. The next player we're going to go through is Kaoru Mitoma. So I, again, was really hyped up about him because of last season. There's a lot to kind of like analyse in terms of what we can see from his sample size. He's had a flying start last season, 16 returns, but then he kind of tailed off at the end of the season. Was that fatigue? Now, that point becomes very crucial for us in this early part of the season because they weren't in Europe last year and they're going to be in Europe this season. So will he get rotated? Will he feel the fatigue Thursday, Sunday? Is he used to it? Will Brighton play with the same press? Will he be rotated? A lot of question marks. So 6.5 mil is, you know, a good placeholder in your midfield, especially if you're playing the 3-5-2. 37% of managers own him. It's been pretty much consistent like that since the game launched. I want to see a bit more. Brighton do have really good fixtures in the first 3, but then the fixtures do take a swing in game week 4. After Luton, Wolves and West Ham, they've got Newcastle, Manchester United, Liverpool and Man City in the next 5 out of 6 game weeks. So that's going to be worth looking very closely into, especially with Europe coming in as well. Mitoma, for me, is someone who's just a wait and see, but for now, he's not in my draft. I'm pretty much favouring Eze in the 6.5 mil over Mbembo and Mitoma. So is there a bit too much hype around Mitoma itself? He scored in the pre-season. I mean, no, he didn't score. He almost scored, but he set up a goal for Brighton against Chelsea in the pre-season warm-up competition that they're playing currently. But again, wait and see for me. I think there's a bit too much noise around him, but will people move away from him? The players that I'm choosing right now are high ownership, and the concern for me is if they don't do well in the first game week, let's say they get like a 2-pointer, and you've got someone like a Maddison or someone like a Foden or a Grealish or even Bruno Fernandes, for example, who get a good like kind of haul, then there's going to be a lot of transfers out for these players. Now, there's a risk of, you know, your players' value going down, your squad value going down. So we have to be careful in choosing the players we're going to be going through initially at the start of the first game week. The next player for myself is Gabriel Jesus. Now, I know Arsenal have some fantastic fixtures to start the season. Me personally, I've gone defensively with a double up and Saka, but Forest, Palace and Fulham. Man United in game week 4, Everton and Bournemouth in game weeks 5 and 7 respectively. Good fixtures for Arsenal, but I do believe with Gabriel, he was 80% owned last season, guys, before game week 1, one of the highest owned players. He got off to a good start. I think it was game week 3 where he got like a 17-point return, and then everyone kind of, jumped back on him again after taking him out of their squad. But then he is prone to getting injured throughout the season. He's never played more than you can see on the screen here, more than 64 minutes was the biggest or the most minutes he's played ever. You got 18 returns, fair enough, but Arsenal need a 20-goal striker, and I think there's more options for you to kind of invest in, like maybe Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka in itself, who will give you more returns. So I think maybe Nkunku at $500,000 cheaper. Even Ollie Watkins is a better option. Jesus for me tails off. He never goes big, and for that price point, yes, good fixtures to begin with. But let's say he blanks another striker like Nkunku goes well, or even like Wilson starts off well. There could be a huge move off, and again over 30% owned. The kind of likelihood is that he will probably lose some value in terms of price as well. Last but not least, I'm going to go for Amari Bell. Again, 20% ownership. And you can look at the fixtures. He blanks in game week 2. There's a potential double up in game week 6 or 7 against Burnley. So Brighton away is a tough game. Chelsea away is a tough game. West Ham, Fulham, Wolves don't seem too bad. Even Everton. But the thing with Amari Bell is, who are you going to play him over in terms of your defence? Are you going to invest so much money up front or midfield that you're going to put Amari Bell as a first kind of like choice defender in your squad? That might be a bit too risky. There are other alternatives at 4 mil as well. We've got Bayer from Burnley, Baldock from Sheffield, who are playing a wing back as well. So there are players who are competing for that 4 million budget squad now with the high ownership of about 20%. If that remains for game week 1 and people start to knee-jerk and rip up their squads, and he's probably going to be one of the first players that's going to be kind of taken out of the squad to, shake up the team in itself. So there could be, again, a likelihood of a price drop. I'm not too sure that, maybe he's the best option out of the 4 mil. That's why I kind of put him in this list, because I think it is a bit too much overhype around him based on last season in the Championship. He may have done well. Again, we just want to wait and see how he is going to perform. So I'll put back my current draft, which I went through in my last video. Pretty content with this, guys. I've made no changes since then. And again, if you haven't watched that video, please, feel free to give it a look over. But the kind of program is, or the plan is for myself, is to keep the squad, take out Estupinian in game week 2 and bring in either Ben Chilwell or Reece James, depending on how well they do pre-season and in the first game week against Liverpool. So that's my video for today, guys. Slightly controversial, just a bit of my opinion, guys, on why I think certain players are overhyped and maybe we should wait and see. It doesn't mean not to own them at all this season. It simply just means that at the start of the season, I think it might be worth watching to see. Let them hit a bit of form. Let's see what their fixture swings look like and base our decisions based on that. So that's all today for, guys. I hope you guys liked the video. Give us a like if you liked the video. Hit that subscribe button and join the FPL INKLING family. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll be back with some more content very soon. Till then, take care.